USA is facing the worst supply chain crisis in history. The magnitude of the problem is amplifying by the day, and the leaders seem to have no idea of dealing with this situation. After some signs of recovery from the COVID 19 pandemic surfaced, another nightmare was waiting around the corner. The global supply chains are being put at risk by an unprecedented crisis. And don't take my word for it. The road transport operators, who are the backbone of global supply chains, are calling on governments for support to avoid bankruptcies and to stabilize the transport in entirety. First, we will see what the leaders are up to, and then we will dig deep into the current state of the supply chain crisis. You will be shocked to see the misalignment between the viewpoint of our leaders and the reality on ground. So let's see what President Biden has been telling us. So I'm not surprised to see that instead of taking appropriate measures, President Biden instead criticized media for reporting the truth, meaning reporting on empty shelves in the retail stores. He accused media of using old photos and suggested that his administration will handle this crisis. And this is how he responded to the coverage of crisis that is brewing under the surface by the media. On Monday, I convened a group of CEOs of some of the largest retailers and grocery stores, as well as leading companies that work with small businesses across the country, and they reported that their investments are up. Shelves are well stocked and they are ready to meet consumer demand for the holidays. No, I said that yesterday, and then I saw a couple of your stations put on. You found some empty shelves. They are old empty shelves, but it doesn't matter. But go back and take a look at some of those shelves again, he continued. He also stated, but the point is that the vast majority of shelves are filled, and the CEOs of not only the suppliers but the CEOs of UPS and FedEx, which are on track to deliver more packages than ever, are saying the same thing. His remarks came on the heels of a less than impressive jobs report finding US employees added just 210,000 jobs in November, well below the estimated 500,000 that economists had predicted. Despite these facts, Biden painted a rosy picture of the economy and said that unemployment is down to 4.2%. We are looking at the sharpest one-year decline in unemployment ever, he said. Simply put, America is back to work, but we are heading into a holiday season in very strong shape. He also said he believed store shelves would be stocked. So what is going on here? Who is right and who is wrong? For those of you who are new to this channel, I am Dr. Subail Khan from Subail.com, and on this channel, my endeavor is to help you in making your money work harder, smarter, and in long term. So here is the reality. The Federal Trade Commission officially launched an inquiry into supply chain disruptions, ordering 9 large retailers, wholesalers, and consumer goods suppliers to hand over data to shed light on what is behind ongoing supply chain disruptions. And this is the outcome. FTC Chair Lina Khan said, supply chain disruptions are upending the provision and delivery of a wide array of goods, ranging from computer chips and medicines to meat and lumber. I am hopeful that FTC's new study will shed light on market conditions and business practices that may have worsened these disruptions or led to asymmetric effects. And the disruptions have indeed been caused. Here is the reality check. Road transport operators warn of a perfect storm in supply chain crisis. So road transport companies and workers' representatives call on governments to address labor concerns, rising fuel prices, and pandemic restrictions in the sector to stem driver turnover and prevent supply chain disruptions. Furthermore, according to the International Road Transport Union, the global industry association for road transport that represents 3.5 million transport companies, dramatic increases in demand, ongoing COVID-19 restrictions, driver shortages, and drastic fuel prices increases have created a perfect storm that can further aggravate supply chain disruptions just before the holiday season and well into 2022. Also, according to Guy Ryder, who is the director of International Labour Organization ILO, To tackle the crisis effectively, governments, workers and employers organizations, and others involved in the road transport supply chain, shippers, receivers, transport buyers, and intermediaries will need to work together. This critical role played by these workers must be recognized and taken into account, including by public health authorities and border control agencies, in effort to control the pandemic. So that is the reality on ground. And President Biden's rosy picture is light years away from the truth, which can be gauged from the disappointment of Guy Ryder. He stated, "The road transport sector, in particular truck drivers, has played a huge part in keeping the economy moving and will certainly continue to do so. Government must now do their part to ensure the sector has the decent working conditions needed to keep our supply chains open." So the true picture is not that beautiful, and we are definitely facing a crisis. And already in November, the IRU issued an emergency call to governments to urgently address the supply chain crisis. We need governments to act now to avoid delays and shortages of products through to the end of the year and into 2022, according to IRU Secretary General Umberto D. Preto. And here is the emergency call. Feel free to pause the video to read it, but here are the 4 key critical concerns addressed in the emergency call. Number 1, restoring trade flows with road transport digitalization. Number 2, abandoning misguided COVID-19 restrictions. Number 3, fighting chronic driver shortages. Number 4, leveling out soaring fuel prices. I will go over the concluding remarks which show the severity of the situation, which definitely means that government should act promptly. So IRU stated, "Without immediate globally coordinated actions, economies, employment and consumers will pay the ultimate price and global economic recovery will be at risk. Road transports and deliveries by truck remain key to keep supply chains moving and must be supported by governments now. And the implications of this crisis will have consequences for the consumers and can spur an everything shortage. Hence, if the supply chain problems are not weeded out, America could run out of everything. Supply chain bottlenecks caused record shortages of everyday goods, from household goods and electronics to cars, food and raw materials. For shoppers, empty shelves can be jarring, spurring panic buying sprees. It is often the first sign people see that something may be wrong with the global supply chain, but shortages are typically indicators of issues that have plagued the industry for months. According to Jonathan Gold, who is the Vice President of Supply Chain Policy at the National Retail Federation, at this point, shortages are guaranteed. We have been warning consumers to manage their expectations for the holiday shopping season for months now. The fact of the matter is that the supply chain is stretched to its limit from end to end. And last but not least, here is how the Omicron variant could make the supply chain mess worse. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo is concerned the Omicron coronavirus variant will exacerbate pressure on the already stressed out global supply chain. She told CNN in a recent interview, "It is way too soon to tell, but I do worry because we know people are afraid to go to work." Raimondo also pointed to the shortage of workers impacting a range of businesses in the United States. Some portion of that is people are afraid to go to work. In manufacturing facilities, people work in person, close together, and there have been outbreaks. We have had problems in places where people work close. Also, the tremendous increase in imports has resulted in record-breaking queues of container ships outside major ports in California. This can be seen in this figure, showing that number of vessels around Los Angeles and Long Beach ports has risen sharply during the past 12 months. And this is confirmed by a statement from the mayor of Long Beach, California, who stated, "We are facing an unprecedented cargo surge at the ports of Long Beach and Los Angeles due to major global pandemic production shifts and decades-old supply chain challenges." So a variety of factors led to an increase in imports, Professor Christopher Tang from the University of California, Los Angeles explains. Currently, many ocean carriers are carrying holiday merchandise such as $1 billion of Halloween decorations and many $1 billion of Christmas decorations such as artificial Christmas trees and Christmas lights. Professor Tang also said, "The US pushing for economic recovery is a sign for demand. As primitive firms encourage employees back to offices to work in person, there is a big surge in demand for office equipment ranging from computers, printers, and servers, and many of them are now stuck in various containers from Asia. This is in addition to equipment for office upgrades to reduce the spread of coronavirus. Many air filters, along with ventilation equipment, are also in these containers waiting to be unloaded. And the situation is indeed getting out of control. So much so that US Navy has come to rescue. According to CNN, in the midst of the supply chain crisis, the US Navy has been called in to help with the backlog in California. The Navy has partnered with the Oxnard Harbor District to assist in decreased congestion at Port Hueneme. A standing joint use agreement allows the Navy to support commercial supply chain logistics when activated. The agreement was activated in November to help reduce shipping congestion at Los Angeles County's major ports. It comes as tangled supply chains have boosted costs and limited the availability of everything from automobiles to clothing to toys. Due to this crisis, the Americans are getting increasingly frustrated, and the underlying reason of their disappointment is the fact that the leadership has been unable to take appropriate measures to tackle this situation. But the situation will go from bad to worse as the problems further amplify due to the uncertainty surrounding the COVID-19 variants and the ongoing energy crisis in China due to the coal shortages. Therefore, the supply chain crisis is far from over, and as the events unfold and more disasters surface, I will cover them on this channel to keep you well informed.